A legal expert says Rogers Communications' move to credit its customers with the equivalent of 5 days of service following a massive outage is wholly inadequate. Rogers made the announcement on Twitter on Tuesday, calling it a first step in earning back its customers' trust. But York University professor Richard LeBlanc calls it a minimum. Dr. LeBlanc says 5 days compensation is based on the idea that the damage can be quantified solely as a proportion of a monthly fee. But he says for some customers, the cost of missed sales and canceled payments would be broader than that. But the outage affected many Canadians and in many different ways. It has led some to ask questions about oligopolies in Canada. With us now is Brendan Caldwell, Director of Caldwell Securities Ltd. Welcome back to Forum Daily, Brendan.
Julie, always great to be here.
The Rogers outage last week affected many Canadians, and for some, the service outage focused attention on Canadian oligopolies. What is an oligopoly?
Well, it's a nice way of saying a cartel. It means a group of companies, could be two companies, in which case it'd be a duopoly or more, but a limited group of companies that control a market. If they act in concert with each other, they can maximize their profit, perhaps to the detriment of customers. But there are advantages, and Canada has a lot of oligopolies in all kinds of different industries.
Does Canada have an oligopoly problem?
Well, that's a good question. Depends what you call a problem, because everybody's, any bug is somebody else's feature. So advantages to oligopolies, at least the way they're practiced in Canada, is that things tend to run smoothly until, like with the Rogers situation, they don't. So examples, we have two railroads, CN and CP. We have essentially two airlines, WestJet and Air Canada, but Porter flying out of the island terminal is pretty fun too. But we have the handful of banks, literally a handful of five major banks, Scotia and TD and the rest. And then we have, as we're talking about now, a limited number of cell phone carriers, and that number is getting ever smaller. Is it a problem? Again, only if things go wrong or if they work in concert together to really boost prices. And I think that's been the ongoing complaint for Canadians about these different industries, is that our prices are relatively high compared to what people pay in other parts of the world.
In the United States, there are people calling for giant tech companies like Facebook, Google, and Amazon to be broken up. Should Canadians be calling our companies to be broken up?
I think of different situations. So when they, for example, in the United States, broke up the railroads at the turn of the 20th century, or AT&T at the end of the 20th century, you had monopolies, literal one company industries that needed to be broken up. And that was very good for America, because a lot of competition sprung up. But I think the end result is what you want. I don't necessarily want to break up Bell or Rogers or the banks, but what I think we need to do is create an environment where competition is possible. Because one of the things that oligopolies do is use their pricing power, the relatively low cost of capital, to put the squeeze on any new startup. So I think it behooves governments to make the extra effort in these areas where there are these seemingly natural Canadian oligopolies, to make it easier for independent competition to spring up.
How might oligopolies impact the Canadian consumer in terms of competitive advantage or in terms of choice for those shopping around for the best price?
Well, it's the prisoner's dilemma. It's that whole mathematical concept in the Russell Crowe movie, A Beautiful Mind, where if a small group of individuals or corporations work together, they can work to their mutual advantage. And whenever companies get together, even for merriment or amusement, it almost always ends with a conspiracy against the public. So when an oligopoly switches to a cartel, that's when the pricing's the same, the services are the same, the products are the same, and yet the prices are higher than they should be. That's the argument that's made about Canadian cartels. And I think there is some truth to it, not to say that the telecoms are operating as a cartel, but there is a natural tendency toward this cooperative prisoner's dilemma behavior which does work against the public. So I don't think the solution is necessarily breaking it up, but simply making it easier for independent competitors to provide genuine choice.
Well, thank you so much for your input as always.
Thank you, Julie.